So most people thought that Toy Story story had come to a conclusion at Toy Story 3. What brings us back to Toy Story 4?
Well, should we tell them we all
Yeah.
thought that?
We thought it too.
We thought it was over.
Yeah, we thought that, well, we enjoyed the end of Toy Story 3 just as much as everybody else. And so when the idea of a fourth one came up, we were thinking, well, what is next for Woody? And that kind of became the answer to the question as well, which is, well, what is next for him? So I'd say that just exploring where you go from there and see how Woody's life is continuing after 3 was kind of the inspiration for this.
Can you describe the themes that we'll find in Toy Story 4?
Well, we talked a lot about, just kind of going off of that, it's really about second chances. I mean, it's a film that I think what inspired us was exactly thinking about, okay, what happens if you do everything you've done kind of the correct way, you land on your feet, and this assumption that it's never going to be the same. So this idea of giving everyone a second chance, sort of about transition, everything's changed. Bonnie's going to kindergarten, and Woody's in a new room, and all the characters are sort of in a new place. So we really I think we're inspired by that as a theme.
Yeah. Bo Peep was another big inspiration for this
Right.
film. We knew early on, we hadn't seen her since 2, and it was time to kind of bring her back, and the idea of Woody reconnecting with her after all these years intrigued us, and kind of building her character into one that would really challenge Woody's kind of point of view and worldview of just what the world could be for a toy. Bo's living this lost toy life, and we loved the idea of kind of pairing that with Woody, who's kind of been safely in a child's room and always been all about his kid.
Yeah.
So kind of flipping that on its head a little bit.
And how's Woody and Buzz's relationship evolved?
Yeah, I mean, Woody and Buzz are been best friends since the first one, and we really did take that into account for this film. I don't think this film could exist without their friendship. So in a way, the way they've evolved, where he goes from kind of resenting him and then all of a sudden becoming best friends, their close friendship is essential for this film.
We like that they have this sort of deep working friendship relationship. Like at this point, they don't even need to finish their sentences they're speaking. They kind of know what each other's thinking without speaking, and there's a lot of great animation that we're proud of. That it really shows, I think, a progression.
Sure.
Yeah, they've really supported each other in these films, especially the last few, and been through so much, even like facing fire together. But they're kind of put to the test. That relationship is put to the test in a new way.
I'd
in
say
Toy
like
Story
us.
4.
Like us, yeah, exactly like
True.
us.
Just like Woody and Buzz, Tim and Tom really bring something together
Oh,
for this
for sure.
film. Can you tell how that shaped?
Well, they've been doing these characters for 25 years, and so it was great just to hear them read the dialogue, because you go, oh, that's Woody, or you hear it and you go, oh, that's not Woody, because it's just we didn't get it quite right, and so hearing their influence on the stage as well, they go, what if we tried it like this? You go, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So they know these characters so well that it was just such a gift to work with.
Who is Forky and why does he exist?
Yeah, who's Forky? Forky.
He's all of us.
He's all of us. Forky's came off this idea, I think it came up in the story room of, what if we could explore a new kind of toy? We're always looking for new ideas, and toy truths, we call them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of based on this observation that we've all had with our kids of they make things and they're creative, or that kind of idea of a kid opening a Christmas present and plays with the box. Like, all of a sudden, is that a toy? We started batting that around and laughed.
Yeah, it just kind of came out of a joke. We were just saying, what if Bonnie picked up a rock and started playing with it? Is that a toy? Like, we didn't know, but then we started thinking that would be funny if a toy all of a sudden came to life and didn't understand anything. So
Yeah, he's something really new in this film, kind of one of the new kinds of toys. We've never seen a handcrafted toy come to life before. And he just immediately causes all sorts of problems and challenges
Yeah.
for Woody and sort of everybody in the room, just because he doesn't understand what it means to be a toy.
What is the relationship between Forky and Woody, and how does Forky underscore Woody's story?
yeah, when we had the idea of introducing Forky, we knew we couldn't go too jealous with Woody, because he's already gone through that with Buzz in the first film. So when he's introduced to the room, Woody immediately takes him on as a mentor. He takes Forky on as he's his mentor, so to explain what it means to be a toy and what it means to be like the most important toy in the room to Bonnie.
It's sort of an echo of Buzz and Woody in Toy Story 1 in a way, right?
A little, yeah.
It
is a
comes into
little
his
bit.
life, and Woody's got to deal
But
with
he's mature enough that he takes it he's not jealous of it. He acknowledges that this guy is important in
Right.
a way that he doesn't understand yet.
Yeah, and Forky really gives us the chance to have Woody vocalize in this film the importance of what it means to be a toy and to be there for your child.
Yeah.
He gives us the chance because he's got to explain all that to Forky, so we get a real idea of what's going on in Woody's head in this movie because of Forky.
One of my favorite parts is when he acknowledges that his time with Andy, that Woody had his time with Andy, and Forky's never even doesn't even know who Andy is, but we all do, and I just love that
Forky
moment.
says it, yeah.
Yeah,
And Tony Hale brings Forky to life.
absolutely.
Tell us about Tony Hale.
I mean,
Tony Hale's the first name that came to us when we were thinking of this character. Tony, I love everything he's been in, everything he does, and he's plays an innocent character so well that's also lovable and full of heart and hilarious, and he does all that so well, and he is Forky.
you can imagine, like, we had to write him a letter, reach out to him and try to describe Forky. It was a hard letter to write. And I remember him calling and asking, as you would if you got a letter like that, he asked, who's this guy? You know, what's he about? I think we said something like, well, he's not quite sure why he's here, and he's having a little bit of an existential crisis. He goes, oh, I'm your guy. I can play that.
He's insecure.
Yeah.
Got it. I can do
Like
that.
he's asking the question, why am I alive?
Yeah.
He's like, I've got that.
I get it.
He knew how to do it. So we love Tony. We're very lucky he jumped in with us.
How does Woody reunite with Bo Peep in the film?
We get to the chance to really bring those two back together in a kind of a surprising way. They've gone on this big kind of RV trip adventure. Forky has jumped out, and Woody's kind of main goal is like, how do I get Forky and get him back to the RV? And through happenstance, they kind of end up on a playground. And so it's really in this playground setting, and it's in a way that you wouldn't expect, where a child picks them both up and they come face to face sort of after all these years, but they're in toy mode. They can't react, they can't talk to each other, and they're just looking into each other's eyes. And it's a really sweet moment.
Yeah, we thought of that kind of as our Casablanca moment of all the sandboxes and all the playgrounds and all the world. Like he comes into mind. So I love that part because it's just something you can only do in a Toy Story movie. You can't do that anywhere else.
And describe Woody's relationship with Bo as the film progresses.
Well, I think we set up. Woody's always, if you remember the first 3 films, he's always cared for her. He's always loved her. She's always been this anchor to him. Even in Toy Story 1 and 2, she's the one that's always kind of reminded him who he was. She says, look at your boot, remember who you are, and kind of pick yourself back up. And sadly, she was taken from the group, and we talk about that in 3. So I think he's always pined for her a little bit. He clearly loves her, and when he sees her after all these years, he can't believe it. So I think when he first sees her, he's a little bit old Woody. He's I'm here, I'm going to help you. We're going to get to where we need to go. And I think the twist of the film is that she's actually the one that maybe a few steps ahead of him in this case, and it takes him a minute to catch up to that.
He quickly discovers he's not in a world that he's never been in before. He doesn't understand it, but
She's
Bo
kind of a
does.
symbol of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the contrast between Bo Peep's attitude and personality and her porcelain physique?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was something that we were very careful about. I mean, we always knew she's porcelain, and that was always the intent from the very first film. And now we have the ability in the computer just to make it look absolutely stunning. And so we wanted to make sure that she wasn't flipping around and landing like Thor, in every scene, and where she would just shatter. But she's very smart about the way she moves around. So she does run around out in the world, and she can break and everything. But she is smart about how she does it.
She's tough and just independent and sort of fierce, and you can see when she does break, she just tapes herself back up and just keeps going.
We also meet Team Bo. So what is Team Bo's purpose in the film?
Team Bo, her friends,
Bo.
her we got Giggle McDimple,
The Carls.
Yeah.
I think that they show that she's been out in the world. She's made new friends. She's kind of claimed her place as a toy in the world a little bit. She's not waiting around for a kid, and she's surrounded herself with toys that I guess think a little bit like her and have wised up a little bit beyond the bedroom of a kid. And they're her best friends. Her kind of Giggle sort of stands as her conscience a little bit.
Jiminy Cricket.
She's the smallest character in Toy Story, but she's got one of the biggest voices, and of course the Carls. I mean, they've made this career out of finding creative ways of getting played with. They're still after that, but in a different way.
But they're all lost toys. They're all toys that have been discarded or left behind in a playground, and now it's kind of like those boys in the Lost Boys in
Yeah.
Neverland. You know,
Yeah.
they have come together as a group in their own kind of family unit.
And she's got her sheep. She's still very much the parent of her three-headed sheep.
Yeah.
They play a very important role in this film. And they're also quite talented in this film.
They
Yeah.
are.
They're able to even drive remote control cars.
They do a lot.
That's what three-headed sheep do.
That's what they do.
We just
Really
They've come a
got
long
the
way.
research. Yeah.
They've come a long
Yeah.
way. And what does Annie Potts bring to the role?
Oh man,
Everything.
And,
She's amazing.
yeah, this movie would not exist without Annie Potts. She can do anything. I just fall in love with her every time I watch this film. She just brings so much to the character and to the role and to the story, and I just love that this movie is Bo Peep.
I do too. She brings this effortless grace and charm where I think it makes it work that she's a porcelain doll but has a toughness. Annie can somehow,
too.
yeah, she's funny. She can just thread those needles and bring that character to life. And I just remember her saying even early on, like, oh, she's saying different things in this. Like she holds herself differently. She was kind of observing it through the lines, and then she just brought it
Yeah,
to a level we never
never
thought
thought.
we could get.
We brought her and Tom Hanks together. Usually making these animated films, we'll record one actor at a time. But we actually had her and Tom do their scenes together for a few sessions.
Yeah.
Just because the chemistry between them was so important in this movie. And it was really cool. It was special for them too, because they had never recorded with another actor in a voiceover session
Right.
like this. So that was pretty
Very
amazing.
cool.
And after that first session, I think that was our first session, first recording session. After that first one, we were like, oh, this is going to work fine, you know.
Who are Ducky and Bunny, and what do they bring to the Toy Story universe?
Ducky and Bunny are two carnival toys that have never been with a kid before. They've been hanging up in a carnival booth for years, which is, by the way, the worst possible existence for a toy is what we imagine.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of hanging there as bait for people to come up and spend their money, and you'll never get one because those games are impossible to win. But that's what makes those characters so much fun, is that they are kind of these, not outcasts, but they are kind of on the fringe, and they have this viewpoint that's just from a carnival lifestyle, which is so much fun. So Key and Peele are are amazing as Ducky and Bunny.
They bring a ton of humor to this. They're really funny, and yeah. Key and Peele are another couple guys that we recorded them together. Their chemistry, they've worked together for so many years. There's a lot of improv that they did and brought to the sessions. They would just riff back and forth off each other. They just really became these two toys and brought something really great to it.
It was hard not to laugh during their takes.
We wrecked a lot of
We
tanks.
wrecked a lot.
Yeah.